This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
That was California Governor Gavin Newsom Tuesday in a prime-time address condemning the administration's response to the protests in Los Angeles and warning that democracy is under attack, a familiar refrain from the anti-Trump resistance going back to the president's first term. We are back with our panel. Alicia, why did Governor Newsom come out so strongly against Trump's actions in Los Angeles?
Well, I think he felt like he had to in order to galvanize his base. You have Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is making these same arguments, getting a lot of media attention, saying Trump is a dictator, he's authoritarian. And so I think this was an effort by Gavin Newsom to draw the spotlight back to him. And he had also been attacked by his progressive base for making some concessions to Trump and the right on the culture wars. So I think he was trying to shore up that support.
But on the other hand, he now put himself firmly on the left. And if there's some riots and things that continue, if there's violence that continues, doesn't he lose politically from that?
Well, I think this is a liability for a general election in 2028. But I think his first goal is just to get through the primary in 2028 and beat Pritzker, who has a lot more money, by the way.
Yeah, well, so do you think this was about 2028 then?
I have no doubt.
Okay, all right. So, Kyle, one of the things that puzzles me is the Democrats can't get past their standing in sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, okay? It was a clear loser in the presidential election. You'd think they'd step back from that. And instead of saying you can't assist ICE in any way, just say, okay, let them go ahead and do their deportations, particularly since if you bar them, ICE, from going in courthouses, going in jails, that means ICE has to go in the streets and or go into homes, and that's more dangerous, more disruptive.
Right. I think that's absolutely true as a matter of policy. The challenge politically is that some of these cities, Chicago, Los Angeles, are so far tilted to the left that that is not a tenable political argument in them. And that is also the problem for a guy like Gavin Newsom, because California is a state that itself, even though it's bigger than one city, is pretty far to the left. And so that is the challenge for him is, if you ran in a general election and for president saying, I'm a blue governor, but I'm against sanctuary cities, I think that would be a very popular message. But that is a hard message to try to take to a Democratic primary or even just to a voter base of a state like California.
Kim, the weekend protests you wrote about this week, there's something like 1,800 of them planned across the country. But you're not impressed with what you think the political result will be for Democrats in the anti-Trump resistance. Explain that.
Well, Paul, we've been doing this for 10 years now. I went back and looked at the many protests that were held in the first months of the first Trump administration, from the women's marches on all the way through a day without immigrants, a tax march, a May Day protest. None of this convinced the Trump administration to change any of its policies. But what it has done is produce this professionalized protest rioting movement that now sucks up all the headlines when you go out. Look, Democrats might have an argument to be made about deportation policy. Nobody is hearing it. And while there will probably be protesters that go out this weekend that are being peaceful, the headlines will all be about those that are not, and those are mobilizing too. And there's going to be more frozen water bottles thrown at officials and riots in the streets and interactions with cops, and that will be the headline. I don't see how that helps Democrats at all.
Kim, let me ask you about this episode with Alex Padilla, the senator, Democratic senator from California, who was forcibly removed after trying to approach the DHS secretary, Kirsty Noem, at a press conference she was having. He was handled pretty roughly, but who was at fault here?
Look, I don't see there's any way to see this other than a stunt, and that all the benefit of the doubt has to go to the security and Secret Service officers here. Apparently, he was also in the building in another conference room and asked to go and stand at the back. The people who were escorting him took them there. There's no indication, though, that that was announced or made clear to the security detail. And he wasn't in a suit. He wasn't wearing a security pin. And all of a sudden, they saw this quite large man striding toward the podium, toward the person they're meant to protect. I'm not quite sure what else they were meant to do in that situation. And he was clearly trying to get some attention, and he's obviously managed to do that. But the fault would seem to be his.
Alicia, all of this seems to, and we briefly, I don't have a lot of time, but it seems this is just going to polarize the immigration debate even more. We're kind of fated here for the next few years to be this divided on immigration.
I think that's right. I don't think you're going to get any kind of compromise in Congress on legislation. Now, there was a hope that maybe if you get the Supreme Court ruling that could, and this may still happen, overturn the DACA program for kids who were brought here illegally as kids, then there may be some kind of negotiations. But I think that this has really poisoned the debate further, as you say.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.